Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we are going to take a fully spoilery look at Kaiju number 8, Chapter 90, and Chapter 89, because these two chapters are part of the same battle arc, and I noticed something very, very interesting. By now, you are all probably very familiar with my near paranoia of Matsumoto's use of common shonen tropes. Matsumoto most notably used the common shonen potty humor trope to introduce the fact that Kaiju number 8 overheats, much like the battle suits do, by having Kaiju number 8 pee out of his nipples. Now, in retrospect, Kaiju number 8 was clearly venting steam after a transformation. And we still actually haven't seen the full fruition of why Kaiju number 8 hasn't vented steam since then. That is a lingering question mark that is still waiting. But again and again, we see the same concept. Matsumoto is keenly aware that he is confined in a Shonen Jump-spaced box with this manga. He has to hit certain beats. There has to be a tourney arc. There has to be a band of brothers. There has to be Bear is the Back without a brother behind it. There are certain rivalries, so there are certain scenes that are inevitable and certain plot beats that are inevitable because this is a Shonen Jump manga. They are serving an audience of 12-year-old boys. But Matsumoto is not content to be just another Shonen Jump manga. Matsumoto is pouring a level of artistic skill into this, which is the first thing anybody notices about the manga. The lines, the motion, the movement, and Matsumoto is only getting better chapter by chapter. Before, it was only the rare occasional panel with Hoshina, I'm assuming that Hoshina is Matsumoto's favorite character, that had that extreme, almost animation level fluidity to it, to the point where I don't think the actual animation will give a better sense of movement, if that makes any sense. But now, often, most pages, if not every page, are giving that same amazing sensation of movement. But it's not just his technical skill that Matsumoto is pouring into this. Matsumoto is making every scene work. And one of the ways that he gives us these extremely fulfilling chapters that are extremely predictable shonen battle arcs. Right now, one of the deuteragonists is battling a kaiju. Oh, by the way, there will be spoilers. If you don't want any spoilers, go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Flying Sparks, available on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Anyway, Vice Captain Hoshina is battling this kaiju. Vice Captain Hoshina has a sapient ally in Kaiju number 10. And for all of Chapter 89, and for most of this chapter, I was entirely focused on Hoshina, which the standard shonen trope expects us to be. This is the deuteragonist going up against his opponent in the tournament arc. Extremely standard shonen. We get some backstory to pad out the chapter. We learn about what has been driving Hoshina this entire time, and it is perfectly logical, perfectly in tune with Vice Captain Hoshina's character. This is new information, but there are no surprises. For me at least, it was a very satisfying backstory reveal. We see what aspect of growing up left Vice Captain Hoshina with this massive scar in his psyche that he can only be of use, that he can only exist, that he can only prove his existence by being of use to someone else. And that's a very, very classic middle child hang-up. But anyway, that aside, while our attention is in that, I realized that we are getting some very fascinating character development for Kaiju number 10. Now, Kaiju number 10 seems to be a true chaotic neutral. Kaiju number 10 wants to fight. Kaiju number 10 has no emotional connection to his host, simply a desire to enjoy combat. And that's been building up that's been reinforced several chapters going in. But I think we're starting to see the first levels of character development. We saw Vice Captain Hoshina learning how to manipulate Kaiju number 10 during the airport combat scene. But now we see the first time that Kaiju number 10 I'm not going to say expresses concern for Hoshina, because he doesn't do that. But when Vice Captain Hoshina is facing down this new swords kaiju, Kaiju number 10 loudly warns Vice Captain Hoshina to defend. And what really strikes me about this instance is the exact way in which Matsumoto presents this scene. You have a 2-panel page, and the thing that our eyes are drawn to, it's not the center of the page. The center of the page is the words. So literally, the speech balloon is the most important thing. But the thing that our eyes are drawn to is not the stressed out face of Vice Captain Hoshina. No, it is Kaiju number 10's face. We get a close look at Kaiju number 10. We see the veins bulging, showing that Kaiju number 10 is stressing as bad as Vice Captain Hoshina is. And Kaiju number 10 is showing a really strong emotion, be that fear or anger or rage. Kaiju number 10, this Kaiju who has so far only shown battle lust, is showing an intense immediate emotion. Is that fear? Is that concern? But what he says is he orders Hoshina to defend. Now, this I am pretty sure is the first time that Kaiju number 10 has ever even suggested taking a defensive position. His Kaiju number, up to this point, Kaiju number 10's philosophy has been attack straight up the center. This is why Vice Captain Hoshina had to work around that attitude. And that got me thinking, and I went back and looked at the previous chapter. And in the previous chapter, we saw what at the time I thought, and I commented on this, that was Vice Captain Hoshina beginning to form an emotional connection with Kaiju number 10, that Kaiju number 10 did not reciprocate. Because you have them, they are confronting the swords mech that is clearly a new improved version of what Kaiju number 10 was meant to be. And this is what triggers Vice Captain Hoshina's flashback to his childhood as the perfectly reasonably skilled, but always behind in his big brother. It turns out that Hoshina, despite being a prodigy of a swordsman, was not a well-rounded warrior. He had his sword skill and pretty much nothing else, whereas his brother was the whole package. So his brother was kind of in a reverse of what's happening with Kaiju number 10 and this new Kaiju. His brother was the whole package, leaving Hoshina feeling inadequate. And Hoshina, in the previous chapter, expressed sympathy and empathy with Kaiju number 10 and recognized their similarities as sort of ineffective prototypes. And there's this moment where where Kaiju number 10 gives Vice Captain Hoshina the side eye and like, what's that? What do you mean? So you have this casual comment or question by Kaiju number 10 that seemed to signal that this emotional attachment Vice Captain Hoshina was forming with him was similar to the emotional attachment that a human will form with a car or a truck or some other inanimate object, that it was not reciprocated, that it could not be reciprocated. But then we get this next chapter. And in this next chapter, Matsumoto makes a point to giving us more than a quarter of a page of an emotional reaction on Kaiju number 10's part, while Kaiju number 10 is making a suggestion, giving an order that is for Hoshina's safety. Now, Vice Captain Hoshina is, so far as Kaiju number 10 knows, the only one who can allow him to continue fighting. Or the only one that will certainly allow him to fight these more advanced versions of himself. So Kaiju number 10 distinctly has an incentive from a purely pragmatic aspect to keep Vice Captain Hoshina alive. But up till this point, before Vice Captain Hoshina had expressed that empathetic connection with him, we have never seen Kaiju number 10 take steps actively to protect Hoshina. And we've never seen Kaiju number 10 take any sort of defensive action. It was always go, 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 attack, 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 straight up the middle. But when the superior version goes to attack Vice Captain Hoshina, he says, defend Hoshina. It clearly as a command. And I just find that very interesting. I think Matsumoto, while on a surface level telling Hoshina's story, is actually telling the story of the monster gaining sentience, the monster gaining empathy. But because Matsumoto is a good storyteller, we don't know if that's what's going on. Because I think Matsumoto is very capable of running the line that Kaiju number 10 is, after all, essentially a machine created by Kaiju number 9 to be a weapon. Now, I, as an empathetic creature, really want Kaiju number 10 to actually form a bond of friendship with Vice Captain Hoshina. And there we have a hint that that might be happening. And that gives this fight actual stakes. So what do I mean? We, the reader, I think most of us would really like to see Kaiju number 10 develop a sense of empathy, maybe even becomes friends with Kaiju number 8, something like that. At least we would like to see that Kaiju number 10 becomes loyal to Vice Captain Hoshina. But and because of these Shonen Jump tropes, there's every chance it could happen. But because Matsumoto is a good storyteller, there's every chance that it won't happen. And I think that this is one of those areas where Matsumoto could willingly deny the audience something they're wanting in the interests of keeping us on the edge that anything might happen. We know Vice Captain Hoshina isn't going to die, but if this chance at a relationship dies, that could be as disappointing as we're going to get in the final beats of a Shonen Jump manga. So what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Is Matsumoto hinting that Kaiju number 10 might actually be growing a heart as well as a core? Or am I just seeing things? Leave a comment below telling me what you think. If you like giant monsters wandering through the forest and you're not getting enough from Kaiju number 8, you can go over to the links below the video and get yourself a copy of my book, Flying Sparks, Dragons, Aliens, and Things That Go Boom in the Night. Peace out, my wonderful viewers.
Drake McCarty should have died when the flash flood shattered his leg, but something defied the very laws of nature to shield him from the force of the storm. Sworn to keep a secret he doesn't understand, Drake is swept up in a world where trees walk, mountains dance, and stars sing of war. Flying Sparks, 100,000 words of science fantasy adventure set in the Dying Embers universe. Two worlds collide in this science fiction novel, available on Indiegogo for the month of July 2023.